Hello, what's up guys, I'm Kyle from KGR, and today we are going to be doing a review on the NECA Deluxe Crash Bandicoot with Jetpack. Now, I've had this figure since launch, and I've never done a review, and it's kind of a good thing that I didn't do a review because there is something that doesn't hold up to the test of time. And I also will compare this to the original NECA release as well as the Resource release because there are things from the Resource that it does kind of call back to, and it's really awesome. But first up, let's take a close look at this figure before I compare anything. And to be honest, I like it. The original show-off back when it was at Toy Fair and the original prototypes were a little bit different, mainly in the eyes. I'll show up a picture right now. It looked completely different. I like the way the eyes looked on that one personally, but I think they went with the eyes more like this, mainly to probably go better with the Resource because it's a big callback to that figure, mainly because of not only the eyes but even the way the teeth are gritting. I mean, you'll see that in the comparison when I do that. But the figure by itself, I mean, there are a few things I don't like, and it's mainly the paint. The paint is the biggest problem with the whole NECA line of Crash figures, whether it be the hair not being the right color, because they all do that for some reason, whether it be the paint not being a smooth transition where it looks more like a burnt gremlin than anything. The first figure looked awful when it comes to original paint, but when the rest of the figures came out, it got better, but it's not perfect. But outside of the paint not being the greatest, the way the figure is sculpted, this figure looks so freaking neat. I love this thing a lot. It really does look like he just jumped out of the game. Like, it looks immaculate. This thing looks so great. But the one thing that I wanted from this figure when I first saw it was I was hoping that we'd be able to take off all of these accessories, just like the Resource originally did, just so we could have a new version of Crash. And it kind of would have been nice if he would have had an extra set of hands, like the fists or something, but none of the Crash figures' hands pop off, which I'm pretty sure they can, no problem, but I'm not gonna risk it. Why they never gave Crash a set of fists or anything is beyond me. But we have, I believe, 3 different Jetpack Crash figures. We have the Resource, we have this one, and we also have the Pop. Now, I'm not gonna really talk about the Pop because who really cares about Pops? But clearly, this is one of the best looking Jetpack Crash figures. Like, I love the paint app on the back of the jetpack. Like, they do so much right. They really captured it from the game extremely well. I love the way the goggles look as well, how you can actually see through them. Like, that is super neat. And of course, this figure is well articulated, so if you have the other Crash NECA figures, it's the exact same thing, but if you don't, I'll do a quick rundown. Crash does have a head swivel, but because of all of his gear, it's extremely limited. Like, you can try to move it, but never mind. You're not really going anywhere. There is nothing going on here. You got universal shoulders, but luckily they're not too restricted. Like, they can go out to here, but you can't really go up. But if you're doing stuff with Jetpack Crash, he doesn't really have his arms up to begin with anyway. But if that still irritates you that it's kind of restricted, then that's on you. Then we got a bicep swivel, so we got a 90-degree bend, and then we can spin that as well. And then we got a hinge on the wrist, so it can go forward and backwards, and it's also on a peg, so you can rotate it that way as well. Also, I love the paintwork on the glove, by the way. Like, I love how that looks like legit leather. Like, that is impressive to me. We got a bit of an ab crunch under here, so you can move that. That's still freely, completely free to move, except for going back too much. But it does mess with the balance. So if you don't want them to stand right, then by all means, bend them as much as you want. Then we have ball pegs for the legs. So it is kind of restricted with how much leg movement you can really get. But, I mean, it works for the most part. Going back doesn't really happen because of his butt. Like, that's kind of restricted, but I mean, it works. It's fine. Anthony's Customs doesn't like it either, and I kind of agree with him, but I'll take it, I guess. And then we got the same type of setup from the elbows to the knees, so we get a bend right here and also on a swivel. But the joint is like so tiny, like I'm scared to break it, which thankfully I haven't broken it yet, but it's only a matter of time, right? And then we do have some ankle movement, but at first when you get it, it's like very, very tight, but over time it does loosen up, which is kind of one of my main gripes for this figure. So on this foot, it seems to be a little bit tighter, a lot more restrictive, but this one seems to be like completely worn out. So here's the thing with this figure, it is top heavy. So I would be having this guy sit on my shelf, and then over time he'll be leaning on one foot, and then he'll just fall over and just hit me while I'm sleeping because my shelf is right above my head. That's kind of a bad idea on my end, so hopefully it doesn't land on your head either. But point is, he might fall off your shelf, so be careful with that. There are ways to tighten the joint, like putting in some polish and stuff like that. I haven't done it myself, but I hear it works wonders. But as you can tell, I am not really messing with the figure all too much, but he can stand up. It's just like, I say that he's top heavy, he can keep his balance. It's just there is a lot of weight on him, so over time he will end up leaning. So if you have these figures and you haven't done this already, they do sell acrylic stands for the figures. You can either get them in clear or black, but personally I prefer clear. You can get these on Amazon, eBay. I'm around a place called Second and Charles. They carry them there too, and there's multiple locations. So if you're on the East Coast and you know Second and Charles, I would say tell them I sent you, but they don't even know who I am, so it doesn't matter. And luckily, Crash's feet on both sides have a little peg, so you just slip that on and then you are good to go. And honestly, if you get any of the Crash figures besides the original, so if you get any of them with little gimmicks like the jetpack, the scuba suit, or even the one with the Aku Aku mask on it, I really recommend getting these little acrylic stands. They come in, I believe, a 5-pack or something. So get these stands so your figures don't fall down and break. But even then, sometimes they still do. I've had my figures fall off my shelf even with these stands on, but it still helps a little bit. But now, let's compare it to the other figures. So this is the original release of Crash, like the first figure in the line. And the paint on the shorts or jeans or jorts, because apparently they're calling them now, on the original release, I don't know what they did, but ever since this, they always changed it to how it is on here. I think it's just different tones. I don't know if it's a different finish as well, but I think it's more of a matte finish and is a little bit of a glossy finish. The point is, they go with this finish from now on. And as you can tell, like by the different paint apps, they have changed quite a bit. It is an improvement, but it's still not perfect. And the main figure I want to compare this to is the original Resaurus Jetpack Crash. Now, as you can tell, he has the gear as well. I mean, the Resaurus has the fists, but we're not getting that with this one. But you can tell by the faces, how like teeth are gritting and all that stuff, that this is extremely inspired, and I love it so much. And if we lift the goggles, you can see how the eyes are as well. But the difference is between these two is that you can actually take all this gear off from Crash and you can have a new standalone Crash figure. While with the NECA, you can't, and it kind of bothers me that you can't do that, but I'm not all that mad. Going from nostalgia, I'm disappointed, but as a figure, it still looks great. So, do I recommend getting this figure? I mean, as of right now, you can get him for like 25 bucks around there, so while he's that cheap, by all means, go for it. If you go to a convention and see if you can snag it for like 20 or so, then definitely go for it. He's definitely worth collecting, but he has his problems. Like, I mean, he can fall over kind of easily, and his ankles wear out over time. But I still think he looks really awesome. I think this is such a cool looking figure. I think he's definitely worth getting just from the look alone. And that's kind of the reason why you're gonna get it anyway. Like, you're not getting a Crash figure like this just to have a Crash figure for the most part. So by all means, get a fancy dancy looking Crash that can go in space. But that's all I really gotta say about this figure. I think it's worth picking up. It's just get him for cheap while you can, because when these figures are done, I'm not sure the value is gonna go up or not. But anyway, that's my review. Thank you for watching. So if you're new and you like what you saw, you know what to do. In the description, there's my social media, especially check out my Instagram, because my Instagram has a bunch of action figures on it. So if you like action figures, you'll like the little photo shoots I do. Anyway, thank you for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. So peace.